Let's get started.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call shows everyone present. We have a couple of additions to the agenda.
Also move to approve additions.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the additions to the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes. Open forum. Anybody wish to speak?
Kim Byer, 80th Avenue. The city had a survey crew come out and survey for a hammerhead at the end of 80th for a turnaround that had been talked about. Is that going to get done this fall yet, do you know?
Still looking into it, getting bids and stuff.
Because I don't know how long your survey stakes will last over the winter.
Oh, I plan on putting metal stakes in the ground so we can find them with a locator. So they'll be marked good and we won't have to come out and do them.
I mean, it would be a shame to have to resurvey it all over
Yeah.
again after you already paid for it.
We'll be putting some metal stakes in the ground. So they're actually in the ground.
It'll likely be next spring then.
Yeah, good possibility.
Okay. Next item, the consent agenda.
Could we welcome our new
Oh, yeah.
Public Works Director first?
Welcome our new Public Works Director, Nick Wahlberg. Billy. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes. Board and staff report. Please, John.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is a report for the month of September 2014. There were 34 and a half contract hours and 7 citations for the month. 2 of those were for speed, 1 for driving after revocation, 1 for careless driving, another for no insurance, 1 for expired registration, and the final one had 2 violations on it, no valid driver's license and a child restraint violation. Call types for the month were 1 personal injury accident, 8 alarms, 3 animal complaints, one of those being a injured deer on the road, the other being a loose dog, and then finally I'm sure everybody heard about the alligator that was found in Rockville. That was plastic. There were 8 requests for personal assists, 1 ATV complaint. That was one of the deputies found a younger child riding a ATV around the ballpark. Went back and talked to Dad. Apparently they had it over here from Golden Plum, so it wasn't registered. We told them to get it back to Golden Plum, which I believe they did. A couple of child custody complaints, driving complaints, 2 of those. The identity theft, it's theft of credit card information via the internet. Noise complaint was somebody calling in and complaining about motorcycles and burnouts in front of Stoney's. The officer came to town, hung out for a while, and never did find anything over there. Speed trailer was out here once. 2 theft from vehicles, those are related. We've had kind of a rash on Lake Road. This was back in September. We recently had some again. We've identified a group. They will be sent over for prosecution. Remains to be seen what the eventual penalty will be there. Most of it's at the misdemeanor level at this point. So until we can aggregate that into a gross misdemeanor felony, it's not much of a deterrent at the misdemeanor level.
Do you, just because I've been approached in regards to this quite a bit, do you believe in that you've got the people and it's just one set of kids or whatever it is?
We believe we have the group. It's about 5 or 6 individuals, and the reason I say that it's not much of a deterrent is because they've said they're going to keep doing it because it's not much of a deterrent. So we've had some down here, 2 different hits We've had a couple up in St. Stephen now. We did a search warrant on a vehicle and we found stuff well to the west of Stearns County, well to the northeast, so.
What is the dollar value that they have to hit to make it a felony or?
I'm just guessing because I didn't look this up, but I'm going to say in stolen property, it's got to be about $750 or above.
You haven't hit $750 in all those?
No, they're not stealing much. They're stealing small portable items, maybe some loose change, loose cash. The biggest thing I saw on one of the calls here was the GPS. Now I haven't looked at the latest one. There might have been some bigger items in the last one, but
Yeah, I think the last one was some tools. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. All right.
and that's probably one that's pending right now because the investigators are working that one. So I haven't looked at that one real deep yet.
Okay.
There were 43 traffic stops, one watercraft violation, one problem with watercraft. That was some jet skis on up by the access by the 400 Club. 2 requests for welfare check and 2 requests for extra patrol.
John, on these kids or the people that are stealing stuff, have you found any that would happen to have some traffic cones with them?
Have not.
No traffic cones yet?
No
Because I
traffic
know
cones.
Sam or Nick were missing our traffic cones. They said they had them out of sight, they're gone.
Okay.
You know, I think he did file a complaint, but I don't know why somebody take a traffic cone, but he said most of them have been, they get legs and walk away.
No, I mean, that sounds like a younger, I mean, just off the top of my head, that sounds like a younger kid thing. The guys that are actually doing these vehicle thefts are 18 and above.
Yeah.
They're all adults. You know, the biggest thing, as the sheriff's office would caution people, is to remember to lock your vehicle because they're not breaking into cars. They're going into open cars and just taking what's available. Nothing as big as what we had earlier this summer in St. Stephen up there. We had 2 different cars with guns taken out of them that were unlocked. They were just left open and people went and took that out. So if you're gonna leave your car sit outside, you really gotta lock it up.
Or take your stuff on.
I don't leave anything in my car. I got some CDs in there, but nobody likes my taste in music, so they don't.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Next item is Public Works. We have requests for actions. Well house bid, you guys remove that one? Is that the number one?
Weren't able to get any bids.
People are really busy, really
Okay.
busy.
So water line repairs, that's still a request?
Yep.
Okay.
We have 2 places actually. One is Schaefer Auto Electric, and the other one is the house between the school and the post office. Both of them had been dug up. Schaefer's was actually dug up at the same point in time that the cafe was dug up when they had their water line froze this winter. We pulled off the line from the standpipe to the shop there, turned it on, water trickled. Same thing with the house between the school and the post office. They dug it up on their own dollar, their own time. I went out, watched them pull it off, opened up the valve, and same thing trickles. So it's the city's responsibility, so to speak, from that point in. I feel we need to get it done before the ground freezes because then the cost will really go up and the chance of them freezing with such low flow is extremely greater.
So you don't have a dollar estimate yet, or just, is this something that's gonna,
You have a bid.
Yes,
or do? Okay.
there was a bid from, we got one bid was from Kramer, and it was $3,800 for both sites.
3,800?
3,800, which does not include the repair of the asphalt. Because we do have a contractor coming in, not next week, but anytime the week after, to repair some previous spots that had been approved already. So that will be an additional cost to repair the asphalt to both areas.
I'm just wondering, were you able to get more than one bid or I understand timing?
I tried, pretty much the same thing with trying to get bids for the well house. I called people said that they were interested, and that's about where it ended. I told them to give me a shout when they could come into town and stuff, and it just never really worked out.
I guess, normally I'd love to see 2 or 3 bids, and, I know you,
Yeah.
pretty much both knew, so, I mean, if we could in the future, and obviously if you tried, that's the best you can do. I mean, at $3,800, I feel like it's something we gotta get done anyways, we don't really have much of a choice, so.
Kramer's usually pretty reasonable
Yeah,
in
I
the
know we're used to
ballpark.
them.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not too concerned there.
I just, I think it, for transparency, it's best to have a couple.
Right.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the $3,800 for Kramer,
I will second that
and
motion.
then I'll also put in that whatever it costs for the asphalt, because obviously we're gonna get that fixed as well.
Okay. Did you second?
Yeah, I'll second the whole motion of Randy's.
Okay. Motion made second to approve the repair of the water line at those 2 locations, 3,800 plus the repair of the asphalt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes. That's it, guys? Or-
No, it isn't. Hold on.
No?
Oh, okay.
Truck.
Yes. So in my knowledge that we have had money set aside for a plow truck, or it came with, we bought the skid loader and then the new Chevy truck, or the newer Chevy truck, I should say. We still have funds in that designated account. We're pretty much just asking for your guys' blessing that when we find a truck that we feel is what we've been looking for and what we can get, that we can move on it without having to wait for a council meeting.
But wasn't this the money that we put aside way back
In February.
Yeah.
February?
Skid steer.
Okay, yeah, we picked up the skid
Skid
steer,
steer,
and we still had.
Yep.
Okay,
Of 150,000, there's 109 left.
109.
So we're still looking for that plow is what we're saying, we haven't done that,
Yep.
all right.
Yeah,
gotcha.
and for as fast as we've been able to look at them and call on them, that's how fast they're going right out the door. So
Okay.
it's kind
So
of,
about how much sand do you think it'd be? Like, what are we looking at?
we've seen them anywhere from 60,000 to 80,000, 90,000.
And that's a single or
That's,
the tandem?
would be to trade in the orange international single axle and upgrade that one vehicle and hang on to the tandem for a year or a few more years to try and get it through. What we're finding is usually municipalities hold their vehicles for 10 to 15 years. And right now what we're finding is it's 2014. So we're only finding vehicles that are 2004 and older and are in the same condition as what we have for what we can afford for the money. So to the trucks that are in between the years of the 10-year mark, which would be 93, 94 to 13, 14, are very expensive to get them with everything that we need set up. We're probably looking at spending, say, just under the $100,000 mark, and that's just for the single axle. And then whatever the trade-in value is of the existing single axle dump truck, we would get that money back.
I really don't wanna know, but what does a new one run?
Almost $200,000 for a single axle truck.
But there's,
What would be?
Go ahead, Sue.
Well, I was just gonna ask, so, I guess I wanna know if we're spending that much, what's the lifespan of a used one? Versus if we did buy something a little newer and spent a little more money, what's the life that we think we'd get out of it? I mean, are we spending a lot of money on something that,
Somebody else's problem.
Right.
Well, the guy, and that's trying to stay away from somebody else's problem. From what I understand, the 2 snow removal vehicles, the single axle and the tandem axle, are starting to become problematic. So I know it's a lot of money. We should get at least probably another 10 years, a minimum, at the next single axle that we would buy. The lifespan is usually 10 to 15 years on a new vehicle because they accrue so many miles. And when they start to become problematic, it's nice just to turn them on to the next.
so if we authorize you to go up, not to exceed what we have in designated funds, which was 109, you think you could get,
We could get something very, very nice that would get us, I would hope, 10 years.
Well, and my feeling is that that's why we put that money aside or designated it. I mean, I feel like there are a few things I think residents are really after, and roads are one of them, to make sure they're plowed and taken care of. We're having issues that they're breaking down. I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, I think that 109,000 is there to take care of the roads. I mean, I don't have a problem authorizing that, to go ahead and be spent. Also move to make that into motion.
Second. Mr. Mayor, before I could, so would those have like belly grade, belly
Oh, yeah,
blades
talk
under
about
it?
that.
And also the salt, so it's fully,
Yeah, they're fully dressed, ready
Okay.
to plow, ready to work. The place that I have been dealing with the most, they go through and do a full inspection, and he guarantees that they'll pass DOT inspection when they show up here,
Okay.
when they arrive. They're fully gone through, they're no hydraulic, no oil, no transmission leaks. The one, if we did spend a little bit more money for the single axle, it has the capability to change the underbody or the belly blade scraper to move it. So it's a left side discharge, which would allow you to do some light gravel work on the gravel roads, which you'd be able to sort of wean off the grading process and maybe only have him come in, quarterly or 2 to 3 times a year instead of what I'm hearing pretty often. So a little bit more money spent on something that we would own. We would be able to put our time into some light grading. Again, it's not going to be major grading that's going to overturn or dig up the roads, but it will be glide down the rumbles, gravel road.
an added value. I'm not, let the public works decide what added value. It wouldn't be right for me to determine what's right and what's wrong, what they need, but just so it's fully dressed or sort of ready to go. And I'm ready.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the purchase and trade-in for a new plow truck up to 109,000. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same, motion passes. Okay, thanks, guys. Next item, Planning Commission.
Doesn't look like there's anybody here, so I'll take over on that. The first one is Susan Dean. She and her sister have applied for a qualified minor subdivision. This is 2 lots actually out on Grand Lake that the state of Minnesota put together in their ideas with the whole shoreland thing. They thought by creating these 1-lot deals or combining them, that would do more for the whole shoreland ordinance that they have, in which we did adopt ourselves. Now, I had to go through this. I talked to Adam a year ago. This has been in the works for a while. We've answered every one of the questions. It's on the back side of the application. So it takes into consideration the state's requirements versus our requirements, and they meet them all. The house, the cabin that's presently there is over the line just a little bit, and that's why you'll see that little jog out. And but still, both would be buildable. The extra lot will have to purchase a sewer grinder station stub, and that's available. And the Planning Commission held a public hearing last night and have recommended approval of this. Sue, was there anything else on that?
No, I think that covered that.
Pretty covered that one, yep.
So, everything is okay as is? That
As
what-
is.
Yep, everything's okay.
Also move then to approve with commission recommendations.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minor subdivision for the Deans. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion passes.
The next item on their agenda was the Andrew and Eunice Molitor. It was a rezoning, a qualified minor subdivision and a variance. There's still some questions on that one, and so the Planning Commission motioned to table that. Okay? So there's no request on your part tonight. It will be one of the sites that we're gonna drive by on our bus tour on October 25th from 9 till noon. If you should have in your book a list of, is it in there?
Yep. Well,
tour-
maybe just to mention on that one, Rena, I mean, this one has several pieces to it.
Three
There are a couple
pieces.
feedlots involved. It's a request to rezone it to rural residential. Part of it is being farmed of the 20 acres, so, you know, that needs to be taken into consideration. And they want to build a house on the easternmost that may or may not require variance from the feedlot. And it was tabled because we're getting some clarification on the feedlot.
Yeah.
On one of them, so.
Yep,
Okay.
And then you can see there was a letter behind this from a neighbor, actually objecting to the split, saying when they moved out there, they bought out there because it was rural and Ag 40 and didn't want to see it develop further. Now, I think there were a few other neighbors that spoke, but I think mostly their concerns, they don't want to see a housing development, so. But
Right.
I'd say read the letter before we, again, no action tonight, but I think just to look at it.
Okay.
Next item is Jeff and Carrie Patton.
yep, these people live at 152 Broadway Street West, and they had a garage there that was torn down this year. They actually lost a bunch of trees, they tore down their garage, they redid their house. They want to rebuild that garage right now. In order to do that, they are going to exceed the impervious surface by 1,268.75 feet. And I did meet with Mr. Patton today, and we figured out the way they want to take care of that excess water is to put in 8 rain barrels around the house, around the garage, and dig them in so that they're not just sitting out. With holes in them, of course. There is that type, so. Soak away things, I guess they're called. The planning commission did hold a public hearing last night. There was no objections to this, and they did recommend approval with that mitigation plan in place, signed, and we have that today.
I'll make a motion to approve request for variance for Jeff and Carrie Patton with
Mitigation.
mitigation.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and second to approve the Patton variance request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And that's it for the planning commission.
Okay, and the fire department request for action was removed?
Yes, that
Correctly?
was
Okay.
removed. They're having a little time getting that boat thing figured out.
Okay. Well, we skip down to new business. Let's take B, item B, Dale Hummerding requests 1 more year extension on keeping storage shed on vacant lot.
Everybody remembers where this is, Oak Street, I believe. He had a fire there like 2 years ago, and the shed's been there, and he hasn't sold the lot and is asking an extension of that.
Is he trying to sell the lot?
I don't see any signs over there.
There was a for sale sign up there a big portion of this summer. I don't know.
Well, and we've already granted this once, right?
Yep,
It just frustrates me that, that is our ordinance, and, I'm okay with granting it, but then I'd like to have something in it stating that this is it. If we do go ahead and grant it 1 more year, I think it's okay to help some people out, but 2 years after a fire, that'd be a point where you kind of get it taken care of and stuff.
yep.
Well, and now he says he's renting it out.
Well, and that's what concerns
So-
me. So if you're renting it out, that's kind of exactly why we have that ordinance, is to prevent the rental.
So that actually, right. That's why I asked if it's actually for sale or what's his intentions are.
I take it he's not here.
No, he works,
You know, maybe the thing is to grant 6 months or something, Randy, and not another year, and it just,
I
I
guess
guess
when
I'm-
when I saw that it was rented out, I thought, oh, that's what
Right.
we don't want, so.
right.
I think I would agree with that. And then if after that, they gotta get it taken care of. It's either sold or.
Right.
What do you think, Don?
I
Have you seen it? haven't
I
seen
know
it.
the signs are up there, and it's just that one building, and I think, it's a year, you should have probably accomplished something by now.
Does it have a for sale sign? Or
I
does it-
don't know,
Big
but
portion
it,
of the summer, I don't know. if it
yes,
does
I
right
don't know now, I haven't looked.
But, if we were just talking briefly about he went and used common sense, I imagine from his perspective that he has it rented out, probably to offset the cost of the taxes that are on there. And so, is that a negative or is that a positive? I think that's a common sense thought process. It's not a vacant building, but it's being used or something like that. But yet, as Randy stated, we do have an ordinance, so it's kind of one of those wedge between a rock and a hard pan. But I don't know if just because he's got it rented that should be a negative.
Well, it's not necessarily a negative as far as we've got, I mean, I think the ordinance takes precedence, is what I'm saying. I think the
Right.
ordinance has got to be dealt with. I said, I think we've already granted a 1 year, so I think 6 months should be enough. And at that point, if it's not sold or whatever, I'd feel a little bit better if I know that there's a for sale sign that they're trying to move it. But if the intent is just to continue to get rental income and stuff, then I feel like it's going against what our ordinance is. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we extend it for 6 months.
I'll second that.
And let the property owner know that after this, there would be no further elongation of it.
Okay.
Continue
Dwayne,
discussion.
go ahead.
The reason I feel that way is it's an act of God with the fire. If it would have been in a situation where he would have gone out and built an outbuilding and not had the primary building, then it's obviously a breach or something like that. But because of something like this, a fire that initiated that dilemma, I have a soft spot in my heart for somebody like that. And so I guess unless there's some other.
That's why we
contingency-
granted a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but, what is he supposed to do, knock it down?
Well, I think it comes to a point you either gotta decide what you're gonna do when you gotta move on it. Now, if he comes back and says that he's been, if he can show that he's been trying to broker it or, sell it, and, then maybe I would have so what you said, saying a soft spot. But it concerns me if the idea is just to keep it as a rental and keep this ongoing forever and ever. It's like they're gonna have to call our bluff eventually. And, in that sense, I feel like we've got a duty to uphold the ordinance that we have there. And so for that reason, I think the 6 months is enough time. I think that's how I'd like to see it dealt with.
Okay, motion's been made second to extend the interim use permit for another 6 months for Dale Hummerding. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Nay.
Motion passes. Next item is approved renewal of Stearns County Sheriff contract for 2015. Any changes, Rena?
No changes, Mayor.
No change in the price?
No change in the price.
Move to accept the contract that's presented.
I'll second it.
Motion been made second to approve the 2015 Stearns County Sheriff's contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes. Next item, approve liquor licenses, plural, for Mark Schneider.
Mark Schneider has purchased the old Big Daddy's Bar, Venture 3, that thing. And he wants to change it into more of a restaurant with alcohol. And he's requesting the approval for the on sale Sunday, not the 2 a.m., and off sale, I do think. But the main focus is to do the food.
Okay?
Yes.
All the proper, all the good stuff.
He's got to get all that into me, before he can open that up.
All right, so we're nowhere near as far as what you're saying. Are you looking for an approval here?
Yes, so he can keep moving on his
With those
process. He'd
conditions.
really like to get going by the end of the month, so I
Are you
mean,
looking for approval with the conditions that?
with the condition that all this stuff gets brought in here and filed with the state. Yep.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve with the conditions that all the proper paperwork is filed with RENA before being approved.
I'll second that.
Motion been made second to approve the liquor licenses for Mark Schneider, subject to all the typical requirements. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same, motion passes. And we have a public hearing.
Yes, Mayor, we do have a public hearing, and this is to consider approval of ordinance number 201482, which is an ordinance enacting the Code Code of Ordinances of the City of Rockville. It's the basic code. If you remember the last meeting, I did give you information from the League of Minnesota Cities, and Duke Addicts was the league attorney there. And this is in conjunction with Ray Bolauer of the American Legal Publishing. What they said was, you know, we bought this thing back in 2004. It's been 10 years. It says, your city previously purchased the League of Minnesota Cities Basic Code of Ordinances. The 2014 edition of the Minnesota Basic Code of Ordinance is revised and is ready for adoption by your city. The new Minnesota Basic Code of Ordinances contains many changes from previous editions, which are now out of date and contain many illegal and/or unenforceable provisions. Failure to adopt the new edition of the Minnesota Basic Code may subject your city to civil liability. Many provisions of the older editions are now unenforceable due to the changes in statutes or court's decisions. And the cost was $400 and $35 for a CD. Our process next is to adopt this. And if you saw the ordinance, it lists the different sections that we are accepting. In addition, we are keeping all the other ordinances that we have adopted through the years. I didn't just make this up and decide I think we ought to adopt this. It was told that we have to.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak regarding this ordinance change?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion been made and second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2014-82.
I will second that.
Mr. Mayor, discussion, please.
Go ahead, Dwayne.
The titles 1 through the title, which is the portion in section 2 prior to section 3. I did quite a bit of research this, both with RENA and also with the League of Minnesota Cities. The concern I had in the previous career I had is the fire sprinkling or some of that doesn't affect anything. It's only the stuff that, and there was a League of Minnesota Cities had an ordinance review board that went through the process. And so as RENA stated, nothing changes in our ordinances here in the city, and so it's a no-brainer for us.
Okay. Motion been made and second to approve the ordinance. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion passes. Okay, next item is committee's report, mayor's report. I think I'll take that with the addition to the agenda regarding third-party contracts. I've received a number of calls regarding the issue of this legal action regarding impersonating a counselor, combined with the legal action that the Stearns County took. So I think our policy or lack of a policy, I don't know for sure what we have regarding counselors or citizens contacting our third-party contractors. But I've also been asked by a few people that called to summarize what occurred here, and briefly. And I don't know what the dates were. I think this was earlier this year. Rena was notified that a resident represented himself as a city councilor and requested our billing software provider to do some work for him. This person was not a councilor. We advised the provider not to do any work without city approval, and we received a copy of an internal memo from that provider advising their employees not to do any work for this individual. And I'll just briefly read that internal memo. It was dated March 10th, 2014, to all employees from Debbie regarding the city of Rockville. Rick Tallman is a customer of Rockville and he wants to report that Judy and Rena told him can't be done. He contacted us by getting our number, email from a neighboring city. He was given information on creating a report from us because he indicating that he was a council member, which he is not. Do not help Rick Tallman if he calls in. If he does call in, tell him he needs to contact the city employees, that we are not at liberty to help him. Asterisk, reminder, do not support anyone that is not an employee of the city without authorization from the contact person for that city. Even council members, we would need to verify that they are a council member and we can give them the information they are looking for. If you have any problems with anyone over the phone, please give me the call or let me know. We asked the city attorney to advise us on the matter, and he instructed us to turn it over to Stearns County Attorney's Office for their review. Stearns County decided that legal action was warranted, and they continued the process until most recently the witness changed her mind, decided not to testify. When Stearns County Attorney's Office was asked if they knew why this witness changed her mind on testifying, Stearns County told us that they didn't know, but they did know that the defendant had hired a legal counsel, that had hired a private investigator that had made contact with the witness at her place of employment. Without a witness willing to testify, there's no case to be tried. This doesn't mean this didn't happen. Regarding the expense to the city for this legal action, Rena, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our total cost was, for our city attorney, was less than $200. As we contract with the Stearns County on a fixed annual fee basis, and all other costs regarding that matter was borne by the county. So to minimize the chance of something like this happening, again, I felt that the council should review and discuss whether we need to have a policy or any changes to policy regarding who's authorized to contact any of our third-party contracts. This would include any resident, which of course I don't think any of us up here would agree to having any resident, but we also have the issue, is it proper for a counselor to contact a third-party contractor? Because that'll generally generate an expense to the taxpayer. So what are the feelings of the council regarding that policy?
I think from my perspective, I don't think anyone should be contacting, definitely outside of the council, any of our vendors representing themselves or whatever. And as far as the city council, I mean, I would lean towards the idea that, I mean, our attorney, because they're so darn expensive, most of these places I don't think should be allowed to be consulted with by the city council. I would put that only with the mayor and the city administrator, and maybe even more so just the city administrator. That'd be my feeling on it. I'm not trying to take away power from the council, but I don't feel like there's a need for the council to contact these types of people. And like I said, generating a bill to the city, I'm not certain, but I mean, I guess that would be my first on it.
I would agree with that. I guess I would add, Randy, I mean, another way to do it might be, depending on what the issue is to remand it back to whatever's the appropriate committee.
That's what I was
And then if the committee feels they need, additional advice or whatever, that's there, then it would be the committee deciding either we need, legal counsel advice or some other kind of advice, engineer, whatever.
I think
and bringing it back through that venue. And that way it also avoids being any individual council member.
I guess that's what I was thinking, that any individual on their own, I don't think should have that authority, but two counselors on a committee, I think makes sense. And that's kind of what I would lean towards too. That I think in that sense, the committee has that authority, but not the individual council members.
No, I would say, if you needed it, just come into the administrator. If I had a question, I'd come in and talk to Rena first. We needed to go to the attorney or wherever, because I'm not going to go to the attorney unless it's definitely something, and I'll go to the city first, because the expense is too great to just be contacting. But like you say, you got two committees, you have an issue on this committee, it involves some technicality, then you get to Rena and we go from there. But right now, I feel, there's no need for me or any of us to really contact. We can go check with Rena, discuss it there. Maybe she doesn't even have need our attorney. She can get it from the league and save us that expense too. So.
I'll chime in, and quite frankly, I guess the pushback I have at this point, do we not currently have policy regarding that in our code of conduct already?
We do with the attorney, but not this third party.
Third-party vendors? And that third-party vendor has 800 numbers, so you can contact, I've contacted that company, not on the Rockville issue, but on another one that I'm chairman of the board of the Sauk River Watershed District. We also use the Banyan software. and there was no administrator, so we had an interim administrator, and so we contacted them direct, the board did, and they gave me the honor of researching that, and there's enormous amount of flexibility that company has, I think, as it relates to the reports. And so if there is a third-party entity, I think the important thing that we look at is it detrimental to the city of Rockville? And then if there's a new policy that is changed for, other than the legal counsel, but for vendors, where do we stop, or something like that? That's the challenge.
Well, I don't think we should have anybody contacting vendors on behalf of the city of
Well-
Rockville, because what I heard you say is that the board instructed you to contact them, and so there wasn't a, I'm just gonna call,
But
you know, from
Banyan
a.
is a company that is
No.
a private entity. You have an 800 number, and you can
Well,
call.
I think
But if
anybody
it's-
can call, but you can't.
But if
you
it's
shouldn't
going
get
to
information.
talk to about specific city issues or something like that, then you're probably going beyond that line.
That's what we're
you know,
talking about, Glenn.
When
Just
it
contacting
costs
them
money.
regarding a city matter, right? I mean, a personal matter, they can decide whether they're gonna help you or charge you, or,
Yeah.
but you can't call them and say, on behalf of the city of Rockville, I'm requesting.
And then, yeah, and I think the bottom line on that one, if the alleged charge or the charge of an alleged breach has been discontinued, so that matter is behind us.
Right.
But quite frankly, if we go forward, is it a knee-jerk reaction to a one-time issue, or is it something that we see coming forward? And if we do see something coming forward, then I think we need to chime with the league and see, without needing to go our legal counsel, but I have not researched it. Has the league got anything on their web pages or on their policy?
No, I actually did contact the league for a policy such as this, and it's
Okay.
more, well, then you want to talk to the individual and kind of convince them, no, that you don't have that authority to do it. It should come through the staff.
It would seem bizarre that we as a city of Rockville have the only city in the 800 some cities that belong to the league have never had this dilemma, and if there isn't a position that the league has on this here, they have legal counsel, they have all of that. So anyways, my reaction, first of all, is if it's a ongoing concern, obviously we have to reach in it, but if it's a one isolated situation, do we spend enormous amount of staff time to create a policy and it'll probably never be used again in the
And
foreseeable
I
future?
kind of, I, in a sense, almost agree with you, Dwayne, but maybe what we should do is do like an internal memo stating that this is what we believe, and maybe not have it legally put together. 'Cause I don't know that you could actually put something like that together that's legally binding in the first place. But I think just to have it on record that this is the wishes of the council, that the council members as well as the public at large are not to be contacting.
Recommendation.
I mean, I can't imagine if we already got the policy that no counselor can contact city attorney, that we can't just extend that language and adopt that as a policy. You know, all third-party contractors, attorneys, engineers, software companies.
I think you could, I don't know that you could really enforce it, the more you think about it. I mean, they can call, but if they're gonna go and say that they're part of the city of Rockville, I mean, then I think there's a charge that would be coming from this, just what happened here. I mean, when you're impersonating somebody, it's a whole different issue. So,
I just think it's, at least we have a policy that we don't have now, and it's so we can, instead of saying, we don't have a policy that covers our software company or engineer or our third-party grading. So if we have a policy that states that, then if somebody breaks that policy, then at least we can hold them accountable. We got a lot of ordinances and policies that are difficult to enforce. I don't think we should not have a policy regarding it just because it's.
can we just ride along on the one that we currently have?
We'll add to it, yeah.
And that would basically be what we're thinking?
Yep.
To add to the-
Just add all third-party contractors, for example, attorney, engineer.
Yeah.
And I personally don't think the mayor should be able to contact. I don't feel qualified. This is a part-time job. I'd hate to contact any of those third-party contractors and discuss most matters that our maintenance guys, when it comes to our engineer, who's grading roads or whatever, are much more qualified than I am. So I would include.
Well, and city
Unless
staff, and to me, city staff should be involved in those conversations.
Right.
But unless, of course, we as a council would give the mayor that privilege to go and interact directly, I think that should
Right.
still be that privilege that the council has, so that we can expedite things.
Are there times that, as the mayor, that you would need that authority though to be able to talk to the attorney?
It would be case by case basis, though.
I mean, I hate to kind of limit it so much so that,
Without,
I'm not
without the
sure.
knowledge of the city administrator or the council?
well, but basically, we're not even giving you, well, okay.
Well, no, because if he works through the city administrator, Rena can.
All right.
I'd like to, some language that says, no counselor has the authority to contact third-party contractor without direct approval of the council.
Right.
And everything goes through the city administrators. Even, say, these guys, if, city administrator should really know
No,
everything
exactly.
that's going on.
Exactly, who's dealing with who.
Yep.
I agree, I think. So do we want to,
Just make, somebody make a motion to that effect, and Rena can come up with some language, and we'll look at it next
Great.
council meeting.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adopt a policy similar to what we have for the attorney that would include all vendors of the city in regards to contact by any resident or council member or mayor. That should not happen except for with the authority of the administrator.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and second.
Would it be
Go ahead.
circulated early enough so that I can digest it rather than have it here as an added at the very end or something like that?
Can you get that out in the next couple of weeks to us, Rena?
Okay. Thank you.
Would it be beneficial if I would amend that for us to send a letter to all our third-party contractors that this is our policy, so that,
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have that many contractors, but yeah, I
Okay.
would say let's do it.
okay, you said whoever
Upon
second,
the
okay with
completion of the policy, we don't know what the policy is yet.
Right.
So once it's completed
Right.
and we sign off on it, yes, then
Okay.
it's legit.
Motion been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes. McCory Trail,
Nothing that I have. Rena, you were there. Nothing that was, it's just kind of kicking the can down the road for a bit.
Just a real quick question on that. When are we looking at, or where are we at as far as, I had a person bring up to me, I said, I really don't know, to be honest. Where, as far as completing the last,
We're on phase 2, which would be
Yeah.
from Keith's gas station in Cold Spring to connect to the one in the core city. So that's
Yeah.
phase 2.
is there, I guess I'm looking for the timeframe.
It all depends on funding. Obviously, all 3 cities have taken a position, do not use any more tax space or ad valorem tax. So almost all of it is coming through TAP. But we have a funding that's coming from the
Legacy fund.
legislature, and we also have an application through the legacy grant money, and we have TAP, which is transportation to the federal level. That's an application. Probably will take it till next year. So the earliest that we can see any more, other than testing or something like that, probably 2016, 2015, earliest 2017. it needs to be
17 would be the
complete.
construction year. We got 920,000 from the state legislature.
Yep.
That's
For
already
bonding.
on here, so.
Yep. And that has a time.
So that would take it, that portion, we have what, one more phase left?
And then we would have the balance of it from right here, right across, from here until the racquetball, not the racquetball club on 238, where 238 in County 6, that's the vision of that 9.9 miles in three phases. But this is not purchasing it, this would be a bike, what would we call it, a trail rail combination.
Trail by rail.
Yeah, so it's a lot less
Best case scenario
expensive.
would be like 2016. is what we're thinking.
Well,
I'm
we
saying
all hope
17.
live long enough to see the fruition, but it's gonna be a while yet. So 2016, probably a very realistic date, because the time certain of the funding from the legislature needs to be used up there, but we need to tap money from the federal level.
All right.
okay, thanks, Dwayne.
Yep.
Finance, Sue.
The finance committee, maybe just an update on a few things. There's no action required yet, but just so you know what the finance committee is working on. We do need to put in place a conservation water rate by January. Thanks to Judy and the staff. Judy, I think in particular, did a lot of work on looking at how much usage we've had over the entire last year by area. And so we're looking at what kind of tiered rate system should we have, and what should the rates be? The whole goal behind this is to get people to conserve water, which is done, sort of via education, but also incentives such as reduced water rates. So the idea is that you'd have, for people who are using more, they're gonna pay more per gallon. And so Rena just gave us some information today at the finance committee with several different proposals, and the finance committee will look at those and make a decision about sort of which way we should go. But the idea is that if you're using less, you're gonna pay less. If you're using a lot more, you're gonna pay more. So I think the difference in the tiers needs to be big enough to incentivize that behavior. And then the other thing we didn't talk about a lot, but was water meters. We have sort of an old system, and so the Public Works Department is going to look at some options for that. We talked about it a meeting or two ago, but we're gonna look at, sort of what does it cost to upgrade the system we have, and what are the pros and cons, what's the life on it? It's kind of old technology. So, spending money on that, where does that get us? And if it's spending a lot of money and it's only good for a couple more years, we might want to look at something else. And then looking at maybe a couple other options of systems that we know would be around for a while. But it is a fairly significant cost, and since Nick is so new, we think we should give him some time to actually take a look at this and bring back a thoughtful proposal. So it's not like it's a crisis that we have to make a decision right now. I think we were looking at it sooner because there was some rebates or money.
Yeah.
But I think, we're gonna step back and just really look at what do we think is the best way to go for the city, and then we would come back with a proposal at some point.
All right, thank you.
Next up. Rena?
No,
Minutes?
I don't have anything.
Nothing? Open forum?
Yeah, that will leave for 5 minutes.
Rick Tolman, 25594 Lake Road. I wanted to respond a little bit to your discussion here about the calling a third-party contract or vendor. I called Banyan as a private company. I called them as a citizen. You're talking as if you know for a fact, or like you're saying I'm guilty that I said I was a council member. I never represented myself as a council member. That's why I was willing to take this to a jury trial. I was ready to go all the way because I didn't do it, okay? And I did not ask Banyan to run any report for me. I did not ask them to do anything for me. Rena got the response that they gave me in an email. It was how to generate a report. Rena told me that the report could not be generated. In fact, Banyan gave the directions on how to run the report. And it was nothing more than annual water usage for a customer, just exactly what you were just talking about. I was trying to prove that the water rates right now do not give incentive to conserve water. They actually penalize people for conserving and give people a break for using more. That's the current rates that you have in now. And I wanted to ask you, is a person innocent until proven guilty? Isn't that the way our system works? You're talking as though I'm guilty. I didn't do it. I was willing to go all the way. And now you're going to make a new ordinance that a citizen cannot call a public company? Have a good night.
I think in response to that, I'll just say that I don't think we said you were guilty. It never went to trial. But we just read the facts that were presented to us. I mean, that the emails that were sent to us, we're just presenting what happened.
And just to
Nothing
be
more, nothing
clear, we
less.
did not say a citizen can't call a company. I think it was a citizen can't call and represent, but
city.
they are calling on behalf of the city of Rockville.
Before we leave that, if I
So,
may,
I think it's just to be clear and, let's not twist what was actually said.
if Tootie would bear with me for a second. So I heard Randy say the emails that were sent back and forth amongst us. So I have not,
Amongst.
oh, that, meaning that one right
One that
there.
he just read.
Oh, okay, I thought there was other emails that may have been circulated, because I don't know if I ever had any
I think that was the email.
emails
that-
circulated. Okay,
That was the one he read there.
okay.
Tootie Herman, it's 211 First Street West. And I'm really coming forward to say exactly what Sue just clarified. None of you did say, you keep talking about a policy that you want to make that nobody can call a third-party contractor. I can too. I'm a resident, I'm a citizen, I can call any company and I can ask them anything I want to. I don't know if they're going to tell me anything, but I can research. And if I belong here, I can ask them if my city has contracted with them or whatever I want to. You can't make a law to take away my rights. You can't have a policy that says that. You can have a law that says I cannot impersonate someone, but I think there's already a law like that. Do you not believe that? I mean, that's against the law. So what are you making a law on top of the law that we already have?
No, we're saying that you can't call representing the city of Rockville. You can't call,
There's a law that says that already.
I mean, that's what we were kind of discussing up here, whether or not that is part of what's going on. But I think more to the point, we're just trying to make sure that everybody, including council members, have that understanding that we're not to call our attorney carte blanche and without, and that's more along what we were trying to get dealt with
Well,
there.
the attorney, when you already have that policy.
Well, the engineer, we don't have that one, so that's one that I think needs to get put on.
And I have no qualms about that either, but I bet I can call SEH and talk to the engineer. And it's not against the law.
I sure don't want you to generate a bill that has to be paid by fraud.
No, and how would I why would they charge you if I call them?
If you say you're part of the city of Rockville.
No, that's what you weren't making clear tonight. In all your discussion, you never said it was that impersonating.
I do believe we did. I believe it's in the minutes.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Because the hairs on the back of my head were going up all the time because you kept avoiding that. I know that's what you meant.
I mean, I would imagine.
But whoever writes it up better write it up very clear. If you're going to have a policy, don't restrict the citizens' right.
That was never the intent.
I don't know about
But I
that.
hear you, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Hagan, you look so enthused.
So what?
I said you look so enthused. I have a question regarding the ordinance that kept being referred to regarding the Hummerding situation. Which ordinance is that?
It's a zoning ordinance, a conditional use permit.
Or what? I mean, which one, what exactly? I mean,
Well, I can pull it out and give it to you tomorrow if you want.
that'd be good.
The thing is, we have an ordinance that says you can't have an accessory structure on a lot without the primary structure being there. The house burned down. You got a conditional use permit to keep the shed there.
You know,
And we've extended it 2 years now.
once before, he was told that that is an unbuildable lot because it's not wide enough, and that's why he couldn't rebuild, and he had to have stuff moved.
I mean, I believe it's buildable.
Yeah.
As far as.
He could build it back to the exact same footprint. That is a state law.
Right.
Okay. All right, so you just want him to get the shed off of there because there's no living quarters there.
Or build the
Or
principal
build a house.
structure back on there. Right.
Okay.
Anyone else? No? Okay.
Rena, I know we got this, are we supposed to do anything with this, in regards to the void stuff?
You keep on, you just keep it, I haven't gotten anything new.
All right, so,
That's your information only.
all right. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made, second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same motion passes.
Right.
Nick,
You can still-
that's that.
that's-